Hi friends, welcome back. I am very excited because we get to go to another movie. And this is honestly, it's only up from here because there's so many movies coming out between this month and next month, and I'm stoked. Today, let's see if I can pronounce this again, because I actually got, for the first time ever, props on my pronunciation. And today we're watching a film by a Norwegian director, but I know I'm gonna screw it up because the first time apparently I did it really well. It's Andre Uvedal, who has directed The Last Voyage of the Demeter. You know his work from Troll Hunter, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and of course, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The Last Voyage of the Demeter, known as Dracula, Voyage of the Demeter in some international markets, or also, Dracula Sea of Blood, which sounds way cooler in my opinion, is an adaptation of The Captain's Log, which is a chapter from the 1897 Bram Stoker novel Dracula. In this film, we follow a doomed crew of the ship Demeter, who attempts to survive a rough ocean voyage while being stalked by a vampire only known as Dracula. This one wasn't on my radar for very long before it's already out. I started seeing promotions of it in I think probably just a month ago, 2 months ago. We talked about it a bunch on my Twitch. If you're not following me, I have a Twitch, and I also have a VOD channel for my Twitch streams. If you can't make it to Twitch, I'll link it down below. You can watch all of my streams there, but we were joking around about it. I hadn't heard of it, and I am actually really stoked because it's kind of like a little surprise movie. It's not one that I was fully anticipating until like a month ago. The film stars Corey Hawkins, Aisling Franciosi, Leon Cunningham, and David Dalsmarchian, who was just in Oppenheimer, but who wasn't in Oppenheimer. I'm gonna go check this one out and let you know whether it's worth your time to check it out in the cinemas, because there is a lot going on in the cinemas right now. So should this be how high should it be on your priority list? Or can you wait until it comes out on VOD or digital or DVD, Blu-ray, that kind of thing? Should you wait or should you watch it on the big screen? I'll be a guinea pig. I'll let you know. Spoiler free. Let's go. Hi friends. It was fine. It was good. It was a solid film, and it was kind of exactly what I expected. Yeah. It actually, so funny because of all that talk about the different titles, the title we actually got was Dracula, Voyage of the Demeter. Either way, it has Voyage and Demeter in the title somewhere. Honestly, if I didn't know who was directing it, I wouldn't have picked that at all. I don't know how much he had to say with the script. And I guess I'm just gonna go straight into my pros and cons. But the film is, as we said, the story of the Demeter and its voyage from Carpathia to England. We start off the film at the dock, basically, and it's the deckhands, the guys in charge, the crew, including the captain and the second man in charge. I don't know his name. Is that a skipper? I don't know. They're deciding which of the men in this docking yard will be part of the crew. And here steps forward our main character, Corey Hawkins, who plays Clemens, who is, you know, he really wants to go to London. And so the story follows him as a doctor on board, as evil approaches at night. This film does scratch an itch. It definitely scratches an itch, and it's really powerful in its setting, props wise, just set dressing. It has everything. It's got texture, it's got grit, it's got fog. I mean, it's like kind of like a period piece, and it really has all of that like piratey aspect, and they did that really well. Like the set design is fantastic, but it is just a film about it's a very straightforward story. And I think that they added really cool elements to that story, including folklore. The way they talk about Dracula I thought was really enticing and exciting, and I really liked that nugget of lore, and just the way they described him I thought was really cool in this film. But I will say the characters are very one-dimensional. They all have like one thing about them, and that's their whole personality. And that even goes with Clemmings, who's, you know, the main guy. He's like this doctor, but he's like, he wants more out of life, and that's all you get. You know? And so I feel like this film definitely serves a purpose in scratching that itch, and it does so in a way that just really delivers exactly what you want from a Voyage story about Dracula, but it doesn't go any deeper than that. It's a very simple watch. But in saying that, the gore was great, the tension in some parts was fantastic. I would say that the film is a little bit slow in between all of the like kind of horror aspects, but you know, it's meant to be a weeks or months long voyage, so it kind of makes sense. But I do really appreciate how far they go with things, because even though it's a simple story and they could have got a lot away with doing a lot less, they really it really shocked me with like the way that they turn the horror and how intense some of the situations they get in are. It's a very cruel story, I'll say that. It suits the setting as well, because you always hear about the cruel seas, and I feel like it was very cruel the way it plays out, and I thought it was perfect because it kind of spared nothing. Everything about kind of the set dressing and that kind of atmosphere it had, I do think it does itself a little disservice with how tight all the shots were. I was kind of surprised watching this at the cinema to see some like, you know, like some mid shots when we had this fantastic boat and the, you know, the wide seas to play with. And although some shots are beautiful, I felt like they could have done so much more with these landscapes, and I don't know if it was a budget thing or maybe even like trickery and logistics around shooting certain things, but I felt like it should have been a little bit more theatrical and kind of met that in the middle a little bit more. And because of that, I will say that this film, I think you can watch at home without like missing out on much. The texture, the grit was great, but blowing it up on a big screen, especially when there's a lot of like mid shots, I just didn't feel like you were missing out on too much probably from watching it at home. And because it's such a simple story and you're not really missing anything throughout it, like it's very obvious the direction it's going, crew Dracula, I think that it would be fine to watch at home. Not saying that you need distractions or you will have distractions, obviously always try and watch films without distractions, but this film I think would be fine if you waited to see it on VOD. If that's also like a pro for this film in a weird way, because it's a testament to its rewatchability factor, and that I think a lot of people will appreciate it when it hits VOD, digital, all that good stuff. Overall, I think it's a very satisfying watch, and if you're into gore and creature reveals, it shows you it all, and I think what they did was fantastic. Sometimes because, as I said, these close shots, you know, they linger a little bit too long, but I think that they did really well with those aspects. I have nothing to complain about with the reveals. It was just really cool to see this kind of Dracula in this way, because I guess we keep seeing reinvented Dracula, and we've already seen Nick Cage Dracula this year, so this is a completely different idea about Dracula. I always appreciate seeing different interpretations of vampires, and this one I just thought was like really creepy and just a really cool concept. But again, very simple story, very straightforward characters. If you're in for some gasps, some cool reveals, and a cool kind of backstory set on a ship, I do think that this one's worth a watch, but I just think it's just quite a simple movie. It's a solid, simple one. So for that, I'm going to give it a personal score of 6. I enjoyed it, but there wasn't too much more to it. If you do like creature features, I do highly recommend checking it out. But this one, you might want to wait to watch it at home if there's other movies that you'd rather see at the cinema. For originality, I'm going to give it like a 2. It's pretty obvious. And for scare, I'm going to give it a 4. I don't think it's like a super scary movie. There was definitely some tension moments, and I don't know if it's the horror fan in me, but I was wanting to see the, you know, reveals, and I wasn't so scared about him popping up. I was like wanting to see it. I think that it's just more shocking situations and the idea of the situations that are a little bit more haunting than any scares themselves. But as always, I think you should make up your own mind. Let me know what you thought down below. Let me know your personal score. Let me know your scare score. Let me know your originality. And everyone else join in. Let me know what you loved, what you didn't love about the film down below. Can't wait to read your comments. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe. Stay away from vampires. Clutch that garlic. And stay spooky as always. Bye, friends.